Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Detroit Black and White. Detroit in Black and White, our Saturday morning's edition. This morning we have on deck Allan Lengel, who bought the heat last night. Yay!
You brought the heat.
No, Deadline Detroit and Washington Post. And also Adolph Mongo's middle school colleague.
He's been dealing with him a lot longer than we have.
Right.
My editor.
That's why he has gray hair.
Right.
He was the editor at the Eagle American newspaper.
Right. We also have Jim Nardone, who came on initially as a friend of the show. What is that, about 4 or 5 years ago, Jim?
Hasn't been that long. It just seems that
like
long.
It because you remember you started coming on the radio.
I did. Just a couple of years. It's been 2 years, I think.
No, we've been on television. We've been on YouTube for over 2 years now.
Yeah, over 2 years.
Maybe about 3-4 years. But Jim is co-host of Jim is the co-host of Detroit in Black and White. He is the former chief of police for the Trenton Police Department. Welcome, Jim.
Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday. And you guys have, you know who I am, Vanessa Moss, attorney, sometime a political consultant, sometime a stuff starter, a lover of all people, a hater of BS. Love all of our commenters. Welcome this Saturday morning. You know what we want you guys to do. We want you to hit that like button. We want you to subscribe and share and tell all your friends about the greatest show on the what? On these YouTube streets. You can also catch us on all social media platforms.
Can I interrupt you just for 1 second?
Absolutely.
It's only good because people like Kenneth and Janet and Dwelia and Deborah Harris and G Money and all the other people that participate in this show. So
absolutely, they make my Saturday morning bright, and it looks so pretty outside today. I'm looking out the window. I'm looking downtown, and it looks so pretty. Oh, okay. So the one thing we didn't do last night, we're not going to make that mistake today because I'm putting my timer on. We got to pay bills, so we got to make sure we shoot to break at least 2 times during this hour. So if I cut you off mid sentence, I'm being rude, but you guys know why I'm being rude. So we're gonna get to Allan first because I know Allan has some outrage. I hope it's his outrage. I'm not gonna say nothing.
All right. I'm going to talk
East Side Allan.
Jim and I, East Side Al.
Right.
Jim and I we were talking earlier about James Comey, the former director of the FBI. What's happening in Washington is unprecedented. Has the Justice Department sometimes gone after somebody they didn't like? Yes. But this is like Trump telling Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, you need to go after these people. We've never seen that, particularly publicly. We saw Trump say, you need to go after James Comey, the former director of the FBI, Letitia James, the former Attorney General of New York, Adam Schiff, the senator from California. And there was the statute of limitations was coming up on James Comey on allegations that he may have lied to Congress or something during some testimony. But what had happened was the U.S. attorney, the interim U.S. attorney in Alexandria, Virginia, who was appointed by Trump, his people looked at it and said, there's just not a strong enough case to indict James Comey, the former FBI director. Now, mind you, he fired James Comey in 2017. He fired James Comey's daughter, Maureen Comey, who was handling the P. Diddy case, handling the Jeffrey Epstein case, is one of the top prosecutors in the Southern District of New York. He just recently fired her in July. She's now suing, saying, you gave me no reason, and we know what the reason is. She's James Comey's daughter. And so now what Trump did is get rid of the U.S. attorney that was his appointment in Alexandria because he didn't like that the U.S. attorney was actually being U.S. attorney. He appointed one of his staff members and private attorneys who knows nothing, has no experience in prosecutorial, proceedings, and pushed her in, and now she has indicted James Comey. James Comey has said, "Bring it on. We're ready to go to trial." And I can tell you, there are a lot of top-notch lawyers in Washington, D.C. There are 1 million lawyers in Washington, D.C., big law firms. And I can tell you that a lot of lawyers would be more than happy, and I'm sure some even pro bono, to represent James Comey against the administration. James Comey is going to win the case. It's going to be a waste of money. He's going to have to, unless some of the lawyers do a pro bono, he's going to end up spending money, potentially $1 million for representation in the case. But the judge may, go to a directed, summary
verdict. But here's the thing, though. Do you think that this is for conversation's sake, Jim, Allan, as well as our co-host, do you think it really makes a difference to him whether or not he prevails ultimately in the case, as opposed to embarrassing you? You have to go through this whole process, and your base is rallying behind you, saying, "Yeah, you get that guy. They do the." I mean, really, do you think it's really? I ultimately want him convicted, or do I want to embarrass him? I want to have him go through this whole because it's a horrible process. You ask anybody who's gone through the legal process, be it a criminal matter, be it a divorce matter, a probate matter, it's a really, really horrible process for the individual that has to go through it, the defendant. Okay, it's stressful. It costs a lot of money. It costs a lot of time. It's stressful. So, I mean, what do you guys think?
I think,
go ahead, Allan.
Okay, I think, first of all, it's not going to go to trial. I think the case is total bullshit. I think you're right. He wants to inconvenience Jim Comey. He wants to cause money for Jim Comey. But I think ultimately it's going to be a little bit of a humiliation for Trump when Comey wins the case, or the judge just says this is I'm sure his attorneys are going to file motions to say there's no case. Let's not even go to trial. Let's summary judgment or whatever. Toss it out. I think it's going to be a humiliation to Trump ultimately, but he doesn't care. He just wants a piece of flesh in any way he can get it.
Jim?
I want to talk about it from a kind of a different angle.
Okay.
This isn't the first time. I understand what you're saying, Allan, about being unprecedented, but let's go back to New York State, New York City, and let's start with Donald Trump. We can go back as far as we want. We can go back to Iran-Contra if you want to. I don't care how far back you go. But the big issue is they're spending our money in these cases. They're not spending their money. The government's spending our money. And James Comey is a perfect example of that. I don't know what they even allege, that he lied to Congress. Okay, I have a solution for you. Go to Congress. Congress, I know he's not a member. Censure him. Make a proclamation. Do what you need to do and move on, because the United States government is going to spend millions of dollars of our money trying to convict him. And as Vanessa said, when you're facing criminal charges, you're facing a loss of freedom. And that's what this is about, the intimidation of your freedom. And that did, that was common with what happened with Donald Trump. You're going to charge him for, I'm not suggesting he's a criminal. He's not a criminal. I'm not suggesting I don't know if they're criminals or not. But is that a miscarriage of justice? Is that a good use of the justice system?
Absolutely, it's not. And speaking of which, good use of the justice system, I'm going to talk about my outrage. I'm glad you made mention of spending our resources. As everybody know, I was gone. I went to Argentina. Yesterday, when I went to go get my nails done, I'm talking to one of the ladies that's there. We're friendly. I'm not going to say she's my friend. We're friendly with one another. We see each other quite often. And so we were talking about poverty and how people live differently around the world. And we're talking about Argentina. I'm going to get to my point. Just give me a second. Because, I have to build up a story, right? And so she says, well, that the United States has pledged to give Argentina some money to help fix its ills. And of course, I said, that's nice, but how about take care of home and stop spending money on BS, right? I'm a firm believer that you got to take care of home before you start taking care of people everywhere else. We have a lot of issues here that have not been addressed. We're talking about healthcare, right? We're talking about opioid epidemic. We're talking about poverty. We're talking about unhoused people. We have a lot of issues here. I have a problem with that. So that is my outrage. You are correct, Jim. They're spending the money that we pay as taxpayers for this BS. And, if I want to use some street, whose stuff is the longest? Because that's what it is. This is a peeing contest. Yeah, you mess with me, you mess with my people. So guess what? I'm coming after you. That's a problem. And I also agree with Dwayla. Is this a distraction from Epstein? He still has a base that's really concerned about the Epstein files. Okay. So that's my outrage.
Yeah. Well, I think, whether the debate on the criminal case in New York, the state case, the U.S. Attorney's Office didn't want to take that. I mean, I think when we think of the federal government, and again, there have been exceptions, certainly, we think of a higher standard for prosecutions, that it's when the federal government goes after you, their conviction rate, I know in Detroit, is probably 95%. When they have a case, they have a case. And the thing is that you're bringing it, Trump put in a person who has no experience as a prosecutor. And when you have a prosecution when you go after big game, you better shoot the bear right in the heart. You better knock them down and they better not get up. When the government went after Kwame Kilpatrick, that was, believe me, that goes through layers and layers. It goes to Washington. Washington has to approve that indictment. When you go after big politicians, it's a big deal. But here it was just willy-nilly, like, yeah, you go in, the recommendation is not to indict. And Trump says, I don't like that shit. He did that with Jeff Sessions. Jeff Sessions, who I was shocked, was really a stand-up attorney general and stood up to Trump, and Trump fired him, brought in William Barr, who for a long time was acquiescing to whatever Trump wanted. And eventually he stood up to Trump. So I don't know.
We're gonna take a break, but right before we take a break, I'm going to ask both of you a question. What are your feelings about the United States giving Argentina $20 billion? We're gonna shoot the commercial, and both of you guys can answer that question.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. Are you living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, or maybe you know someone who's in the same situation? The probate process may be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. We have several nonprofit partners who have free attorneys who can assist you. Contact our office, 313-224-5990, or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. Don't lose your family property. Some of these properties have been in the family for 4 or 5 generations. Contact us now. We're here to help.
We're back, Detroit in Black and White. Thank you guys so much for watching Detroit in Black and White. If you're watching, hit that like button, subscribe, share, tell all your friends about Detroit in Black and White. You can catch us on all social media platforms. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. So, to my question, which is part of my outrage, what are your thoughts, Jim?
Can we talk to some of our viewers and then go into Argentina?
Absolutely, we can do whatever you want. No, we can do whatever you want, but we can do that.
Yeah. Would you like me to address it, or would you like to address
Go
it?
ahead. You go ahead.
Now, Willis Martin calls it the Trump revenge tour, and I guess this morning he said, or yesterday, that it's not revenge, but it obviously is revenge. Willis, thank you. I will laugh if I hear from Hillary Clinton, or I hear that Hillary Clinton will be next, because it'll be so stupid. This could all backfire on Trump with a lot of his dirt. Then he would be pissed. He's Mr. 40 Scratch. Thank you for tuning in. Timothy Square Bay. Good morning. Does anyone know if there'll be a mayor debate? Yes, October 15th. I guess Channel 7, WXYZ. I call it Channel 7 now. 231, whatever channel it is.
Yeah.
Mr. 40 Scratch, and exploding the national debt, making the U.S. greater debtor to the world. And that's what Argentina is all about.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome, Janet. Dwellia, directions from Epstein. Dwellia. Vanessa's talking here. Such a tiny minded narcissistic brain he has. Karen Winston. Good morning, Dorian. We're sorry you missed last night. Good for you. I hope you had a good time. I hope your head doesn't hurt too bad. FBA Convo, happy to see you, Vanessa, and good morning from Hazel Park. Good morning to you in Hazel Park. You look stunning, Vanessa.
I know.
Blessed. She's hoping for a blessed Saturday. And I think we got it. Kenneth Reed said good morning. I think we're at the top. Well, I just, go ahead, Allan. You want to address it?
I just want to address one comment where it said somebody talked about Hillary Clinton. I think anything that Hillary Clinton was suspected of doing wrong or whatever, the statute of limitations is passed. And so she's in a safe zone against Trump. I mean, Trump would go after everyone who is, but anyway, sorry. Go ahead, Jim.
Oh, I must admit, I cheated. I just looked up Argentina and the U.S.'s relationship, and I guess we bought $20 billion worth of Argentine bonds to stabilize their government. So I guess, and I don't know what we import from Argentina. Maybe it's coffee. Maybe it's something. Go ahead, Allan.
I think some resources, energy resources, or batteries and stuff like that. I think the part of the argument for doing it is that China has a growing influence in South America, and that we want to have, we're competing with them, and then we want to have more business dealings and create businesses for resources. I can't remember, lithium and different resources there. So they're trying to buy into it. I don't know enough about it to say whether it's a horrible thing, but it's $20 billion is obviously a lot of money.
We have some interest in Argentina. It's not
right.
It's not just out of the kindness of our heart.
Right.
I get that, but the problem is, listen, you could do two things at one time. You send it $20 billion, as one of our co-hosts indicated. Our debt is through the ceiling. You want to spend money on trying to convict this guy that you got a problem with, and any other person that you personally have a problem with, but yet we have things that need to be fixed here in this country, one of which is education. We spend a whole lot of money. There's a whole lot of money going everywhere. What about fixing the things that's wrong here? That's my outrage.
I think one thing I think sometimes I agree with it. It's a balancing act. I think that we have to, when we talk about, people say, in Detroit, what do we care about? What's happening in the Middle East or whatever? But we see that, or why should, people of a certain group or whatever? But 9/11 is a terrorism thing. People of all, I think I looked it up. There were I think it was like 250 Black people were killed on 9/11 and so security, a lot of people of all different, Arabs, Jews, whoever, were killed on that. And so, I mean, some of that is we do have to keep our eye on what's happening around the world, because if we don't, the world comes to us like it did on September 11th. So it is a balancing act where we're trying to keep our foot in certain countries. There's the whole global, whatever you want to call it, but competition, Russia, China, always trying, in Africa, China, Russia, trying to keep, their hands in countries and stuff like that. And so some of it has to do with resources, financial. I mean, the Middle East has been a long time, oil, things like that, where U.S. has a great interest in that. We went into Kuwait, the oil producers. We went in, in the first war in 2000.
Well, how does it benefit? But I get that. I don't disagree with you. But how does it benefit? And you just brought up a very good point. People in the city, they was like, we don't give a hell about what's going on over here, there, everywhere. We're paying attention to what's happening right here, right now, in my face. What you want me to vote for you? You want me to support the things that you're doing, support the things that you want to do, okay? But what are you doing to support me? You
I'm saying
your vote, your support. No, I got it. I get it.
No, can I just say, when people say here in the city, well, why do we give a shit about the Middle East or whatever? And then if they're paying extra for the gas pump, they go, I'm tired of these high gas prices.
Mm-hmm.
And there is some correlation sometimes in that I'm tired of paying, for batteries, or I'm tired for whatever products that we're paying more for. And some of it has to do with our relationships with those countries. So I get it.
But I think Allan hit it, and I think Dorian hit it too, right on the head. The oligarchs don't need America anymore. They can care less about the place. I don't think that's the point. I think what Allan's trying to say, and you can look at it quite simply, that the world is being divided by the United States and China, right? In some fashion, right? Who has influence in Argentina? And I think that's what Allan hit on is we don't, you can go back. Who has the power? Is it the United States or is it China, right? And China is gaining.
Is it the rich or the poor?
Is it the rich or the poor? But when we talk about countries like Argentina or Brazil or Europe, it's who has the influence in Europe. It was Russia. Mm-hmm. Now it's China. It was Russia and China, and whoever had the power, and who was, Russia's sending the money into Europe. So Europe wants to play nice with Russia because that's where they're getting oil from. So that's how the world is divided. I guess it's an oversimplification, but I think that's a piece of it.
But we also see with tariffs happening, some of the countries are getting angry at the U.S. and saying, where else can we shop around for products, or where else can we export our products that we're not going to get killed on, because Trump is being, vindictive by, raising some of the tariff rates to ridiculous levels. So.
Yeah.
And a couple other points that Dorian made. The empire is dying, and the waterfalls did Vanessa some good. She's been glowing since last night. So Dorian's recognizing what we recognize this morning. Karen Winston, homelessness, job creation, and healthcare and hunger are the right now issue we should be focused on. As Dorian also said, if people are starving in the Midwest or in California, and we're the U.S. government's focusing on Argentina and Brazil, that's you can understand why people feel the way they do.
Absolutely.
But I think also, when I agree with Karen, I mean, homelessness, job creation, all that, but it doesn't mean you can't do both. I mean, that's why you have a State Department. That's why you have Agricultural Department. That's why you have, HUD, you have Health and Human Services. We have all these different divisions that we can do more than one thing at once.
And Ms. Sheila, focus on the local judicial system.
Absolutely. That's
a great point.
I was getting ready to make those 2 points. Number one, I agree with you, Allan, that there should be a balance. There seems to be an imbalance as far as I'm concerned. I get it, but there seems to be an imbalance. And when you talk to the everyday person that's walking around in Trenton and Detroit and Redford and Southfield, they're saying things like what you said, Allan. Well, hell, gas is up the roof. I mean, what are you going to do about that? What are you going to do about what Karen says? What about homelessness? But to the point of one of our co-hosts, that's why it's important that local is very important. Your local politics is very important. That's what makes the difference. That's what makes the difference as to who you see to represent your interests. And so if you're not engaged, if you're not participating, you get what you get.
And thank everybody for their contributions to the show this morning. You're making it a great show. Eric talks about education will never be fixed because there's power in keeping people dumb. And it's a very profitable proposition for many. Would you guys comment on that?
Oh, well, Eric and I talked about this last night. I made that comment to him. I said, as long as people are dumb, then guess what? You can continue to have power and control. This is not nothing, as far as I'm concerned, this is not nothing new. This is not anything that is foreign to us. I have talked on the show about how I worked in the school system. And I'm not going to say which system it was, but I had somebody, and this was in the late 80s, tell me I needed to change my grades. Okay, so you want to pass people along that you know that are illiterate. Okay, people get paid, and I'm not saying people feel good about it. What I am saying is people benefit from people being illiterate. People benefit from people being dumb. People benefit from people not being engaged. So I agree with.
Will you comment on that, Allan?
I think I just want to say, if we made teachers, if we paid them better, if it became a prestigious job again, that we would get better. Not that we have a lot of great teachers out there, but we could still have a lot of, if we paid more. It basically says, it speaks to how we value education when, we can spend a lot of money on each student for whatever, but if we don't have, the top teachers, it should be a prestigious job. You should be getting $100,000 as a teacher. It's a noble job, and it really is. Our future is based on the education that we provide to our, students.
And I'm going to take a different route. I understand that the government doesn't care if you get education or not. Maybe that's not even completely their responsibility, but I'm not willing to take that step to say that our government, our corporations are that sinister that they want people to be uneducated. That's a pretty sinister position.
No.
Cynical. Cynical.
No, I don't even mean cynical. I mean
right.
Sinister. He means what he said.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
But I think, education is really, Detroit has some good schools. Cass Tech, I think MLK is a decent school. There are some good schools out there, but not enough. And we have, the Detroit schools. I go down Woodward at, I think it's around between 6 and 7 Mile Road. There's a big sign that says Oak Park School District, recruiting students from Detroit to go to Oak Park. And we're seeing it, students are in West Bloomfield. There, I think there's somewhere downriver. I don't know if it's whatever it is, but I think Detroit is really, we still wrestle with that. We say the mayor should have more say in the education that's going on here. But certainly, every project that happens with Dan Gilbert building, we see all these buildings. We don't see new schools in downtown Detroit. We don't see new schools in Midtown. We don't see new schools on the east side, west side, where there's new.
But how does that help anybody? How does the government making people dumb help anybody? How does that help General Motors or IBM or Apple Computers? It doesn't help anybody if people are uneducated and not smart. I do get the industry.
The problem is if you're wealthy or at least you're a person of means, you can, if you're living in Detroit, there are some good private schools that you send your kids to private school. You send them to Catholic school. You send them to what's the school in Indian Village. My nephew went there for a while. It's just
I like it.
So the wealthy people who are in power are the ones who don't care as much because their kids are going to get educated well, no matter what.
Thank
let
you,
me
Eric.
say this. Yeah, let me say this, and then we're going to cut to a commercial. Jim, you said education is smart. Those two don't basically go hand in hand.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Okay.
That's not what I'm referring to.
Okay, so let's shoot to commercial. We'll go back to you, Jim.
Okay.
Homeownership opportunities are rising in the city of Detroit, and there's a house out there that's right for you and your family. You don't even have to worry about credit or getting a loan. You can win a house for as little as $1,000 and pay for the renovation cost as you go. It all starts at buildingdetroit.org and the Detroit Land Bank Authority. Our auction and Own It Now programs offer a variety of houses and neighborhoods all over the city of Detroit. These homes are in desperate need of repair and new ownership. You can begin by going to our interactive map and detailed property listings to find the right fit for you. It won't be easy, and renovation costs are not cheap, but our compliance team is there every step of the way. We will help you track your progress and connect you with local discounts to save you more money. We have already sold more than 15,000 homes in the city of Detroit, and our inventory is shrinking fast, so you don't want to miss out on this wonderful opportunity. Start your home buying journey today by visiting buildingdetroit.org. Homeowners.
We're back, Detroit in black and white. This is our Saturday morning's edition. We want to thank each and every one of you for watching, for joining. In the comment section, thanks Allan for being here every Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday that he can be here. We thank Jim. We also thank Lady T. She's the woman behind the scenes, making sure that we get on here on time, make sure the commercials run. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Like, subscribe, share, tell everybody about the greatest show on these YouTube streets. Okay, Jim, go ahead and
I was going to suggest, I understand the financial impact, the financial benefits of poverty. I understand the financial benefits today of a private prison system, which is outrageous, right? We're not talking, Eric's talking about control. You're absolutely right. I don't disagree that the government likes to control people, and it's both parties. It's not, we're not going to pick on one individual party. But today, people are controlled, educated people are controlled. People that have PhDs are controlled in the government process, right? By parties, right? You see people, you can't talk to them about anything. They are so set in their ways that they're being controlled today by CNN and Fox News, right? The whole world, there's some control level everywhere in this country, and probably in every country. So,
well, Terry McCrimmon says the system is working the way the super rich want to work. They bring highly educated people from India to be doctors and nurses to fill the high skilled jobs now, and keeps natural born American uneducated so they can do the low paying jobs at your Burger Kings, Wendy's. Is all by design.
And that's a great point. I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that, but you're talking about individual evil people. You're not talking about people that care about other people.
Mm-hmm. Eric says not just the government, organizations, churches, and even within families. I think he's talking about the control aspect.
Cults.
Yeah.
Churches are part. You can argue that some churches are cult-like, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You could argue that some of these YouTube shows are cult-like.
Not this one. We want our friends out here to tell us what we're doing wrong.
And we have some of the smartest viewers on these YouTube streets. Allan, you look like you want to say something.
No, I'm just reading some of the comments. Just
okay. Well, you read the comments that Allan and Jim are right concerning Venezuela. There is a balancing act. The U.S. government have to perform. Many local people don't understand policy.
There's a lot of oil in Venezuela.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I think there are, like I say, there are some resources, and I think the U.S. looks at as job opportunities, or creating businesses there and stuff, and probably exploiting some of their resources or whatever. But it's look, it's a race around the country, around the world, where like China, Russia, U.S. are trying to have influence and have trade and stuff like that. But Trump we saw recently, when we saw some of the world powers there, Kim Jong-un, Putin, China's premier all meeting together, and it was concerning to Trump, but they were all basically like, hey, the U.S. is trying to screw us on all these tariffs and stuff like that. We need to find alternative ways. And the same thing with Europe. He's screwing countries in Europe, and Europe is going to be like, well, we're going to turn to China, we're going to turn to Russia. So it's really kind of I think backfiring. And it seems to me some of the tariffs, I mean, maybe there's a little inequity here and there, but it's also a bullying when you're really saying, okay, well, I'm going to double and 50% on tariffs and stuff like that. And countries are like, screw you. These are all well-educated leaders around the country. They're not stupid. They have egos. When you mess with somebody like Trump has got such a huge ego, he's like, oh yeah, you're gonna do a tariff on us, but we're gonna double your tariff. And at some point, countries are gonna go, you know what? We don't need the U.S. We've got China. China's a superpower, just like the U.S. We owe China money. China lends us money. China's got money and resources and stuff like that. So we can't underestimate the world balance.
This, Allan, since you said that. You think that if they put tariffs on us and he says, well, hey, you do that, you push me, I'm gonna push you back. Is there something wrong with that?
Yes, well, there is. First of all, in Canada, you're just messing with, there's some products in Canada that we don't even import. And he's like, oh, we're going to screw you on this and that. I think there has to be a relationship. Why are you screwing your friends? There may be like, okay, we need to up the tariff 5% or whatever, but he's doing 25, 50%. And some of it's just out of vindictiveness, which we see. He's like now in a whole campaign, he says he wants to go after George Soros. He wants to go after anybody who's a critic, anybody he perceives as threatening his power.
He's going to come after you.
You know what? I did see on my LinkedIn page, it shows who's looked at your page, and one of them said Trump administration.
Are you serious?
Yeah, somebody. So I have another website.
I was joking, really?
I have another website, ticklewire.com, and I have written some. We've run some stuff on Deadline Detroit, some columns and stuff that have not always been pro.
You better keep your lawyer friends on your speed dial, Allan.
That's right, absolutely.
Wow.
We'll be bailing you out.
Wow. You have, I want to address one of the comments. Hold on one second. Let me scroll back up. Superstar Bella, good morning. Thank you so much for joining. Says the people who colonized this control came from the place where there was classism, so they reinstated the same politics through capitalism. Those who have the most money have access to more. Ms. Sheila says freedom of speech is not free. Are you really, I guess she's saying, are you ready to pay the consequences? Karen Winston says, how dare DJT brag about his administration updates to the White House ballroom as he cuts Medicare benefits.
Let's talk about that for just a second, Cameron.
That's another point I'm trying to make. Take care of home. You're not taking care of home, but you're taking care of other people. You can do both.
Do we want a better ballroom? Is that where our money should be going?
Well, I've never gone to the ballroom. Have you been? Well, you're probably on the list of never to be able to go to the ballroom.
Right. I'm not with this.
Right. No. Jim, you were getting ready to say something?
I don't remember. I was going to say something about the ballroom and Jimmy Kimmel, how, that's what set Jimmy Kimmel off when Charlie Kirk died, that Donald Trump was focused on the White House ballroom, and he was absolutely right about that. That may have been one of the most ridiculous comments I ever heard a president make.
Well, I thought there was an interview, there was a press conference, and one of the reporters said, Mr. President, how are you holding out with the death of Charlie Kirk? And he said, oh, basically I'm fine. And then immediately said, hey, did you see the construction here for the ballroom? I mean,
it was comments he made outside the White House.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and
that's what Jimmy Kimmel was I believe he was referring to. So
I think there's an insincerity there when he talks about, when you say, how are you doing with Charlie Kirk? And he goes, oh, have you seen our ballroom?
Right, exactly. That's what Jimmy Kimmel was referring to, I believe. So can we talk about something different for a minute? A U.S. Congress?
I want to just make
Break?
knowledge to people. Then we break, and then we'll come right back to you. Terry McCrimmon says James Comey has friends in high places, and he was in charge of the DOJ. He has lots of secrets on a lot of people. This could get ugly. Mr. Duckett said liberals who cleave to the First Amendment should also embrace the Second Amendment publicly.
Wow, he's one step ahead of me.
Absolutely.
Mr. Duckett.
I agree with you, Mr. Duckett. We're going to go to commercial, and then we're going to come right back to Jim.
Nearly 30,000 vacant lots all over the city of Detroit are for sale right now. That's right, nearly 30,000 vacant lots are available now, starting at just $100. The lot next to your house or the lot down the street. Make it yours today in just a few simple clicks. Find out if it is available by visiting buildingdetroit.org. At the Detroit Land Bank Authority, side lots are just $100 and neighborhood lots sell for $250. You can apply and pay online today by visiting buildingdetroit.org. And if you don't see the lot you're looking for, call our offices. Our phone number is 313-974-6869. Again, that is 313-974-6869.
We're back, Detroit in Black and White, our Saturday morning's edition. Thank you all for commenting. Thank you all for joining, subscribing, and sharing. We are back from commercial. We're going to go right to Jim.
I'm going to try and be brief. I want to talk about a gentleman that passed in 2019. His name was John D. Dingell Jr. And the reason I want to talk about the current state of the United States Congress. So John Dingell, who was my congressman, who I knew, this was a guy that was instrumental in the passing of the original Medicare Act, the Clean Water Act, Endangered Species Act, Voting Rights Act in 1965, Civil Rights Act in 1968. He was standing next to Barack Obama when he signed the Affordable Care Act. John Dingell. I'm going to read a little quote. This is just a Wikipedia quote. An avid sportsman, hunter, he strongly opposed gun control and was a former board member of the National Rifle Association. The reason I bring that up isn't to discuss gun control. It's to discuss U.S. Congress. Jasmine Crockett made a comment, and we wanted to get to it last week, but I didn't, that said that when Charlie Kirk died, she couldn't imagine it, my words, being anybody but a conservative, because conservatives teach their kids to play with assault rifles at 3 or 4 years old. So my only point is, Jasmine Crockett needs to go. I know she's an attorney. She's talented and skilled. I'm disappointed. She needs to learn about this country. There are people that can believe in more than one thing. Mm-hmm. We have to quit putting people in one box or the other box. John Dingell is a perfect example of that. This is as liberal and as people's oriented a congressman as we've had in this country in 100 years, but he also is so you can't put people in one box. Let's quit doing that, and let's look at people for what they believe in and give them their opportunity to tell you why they believe what they believe.
And to your point, Jim, I say stop putting people in boxes and vote for the person and who they stand for, as opposed to the letter that's behind their name. I think if we got away from that we will be looking at a different type of government in a different type of world. But the reality is, no, they want us all to be put in boxes, right? You're going to be put in this box, or this box. And that is how you're going to be identified. You have one party that says with the big tent, we accept everybody. You have this other party that says, hey, we're Christians. Well, there's Christians on both sides. There's racists on both sides. There's bigots on both sides. There's on both sides, people may be liberal about things and may be conservative about other things. That's the reality. That's who and what people are. So unfortunately, we live in this world where you have to, they want you to be placed in a box. And I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Allan, you look like you have something to say.
Yeah, I'm going to say that, the Republican Party, the one reason I think it's more unified than the Democratic Party is because they've narrowed the party. They've got, I mean, from what, 10 years ago, there are no real liberals. There used to be liberals in the Republican Party. There used to be moderates in the Republican Party, and now the moderates are what would be conservatives back in the day. So they're more unified. There's no room, and interestingly, Donald Trump is really no ideologue. He really doesn't believe in anything. He's not anti-abortion. I don't believe that for a minute, but he knows that's what the party wants. And so it's just the Democratic Party has tried to be a broader umbrella. And so you have, more disputes in the Democratic Party, the AOCs and the Bernie Sanders, and then the more moderates and the, more conservatives in the Democratic Party. But I think one thing that's happened is that it's the parties have gotten hard and hardened, where some Democrats say, if you're a Republican, I don't care how moderate, or, there are moderates, not necessarily elected, but there are certainly moderate Republicans out there. And there are even some, mildly liberal Republicans there. But in terms of who's serving in Washington, it's pretty narrow. And so Democrats say, if you're part of that party, I don't care who you are, you're an asshole. And then, if the other side says you're a libtard. I was driving Thursday to or it was Wednesday, to a visitation for somebody who passed away in Sterling Heights.
That's when you was driving through on the east side, right?
No, that was in Sterling Heights. The next day, Thursday, I drove through the east side. But we would drive. I was with a friend. We were driving behind a pickup truck, and it had a flag that's with the Trump. It had a Trump flag waving, stuck there, and then it also had the bumper sticker that said "Go Brandon," which is like code word for "fuck Biden." And so I initially I'm like, and then I was like, just to mess with the guy, I told my friend, I said, speed up. I want to give him the thumbs up and let him smile. But we didn't catch up to him. But there's alienation there. I mean, to me, that's the finger, giving you the finger, like go Brandon. That's fuck you, Biden, and all that stuff. So there are people who are, and Trump really generally, I mean, with the Charlie Kirk thing, he jumped right in and said the Democrats, the liberals, the radical left. And I don't even know radical left. Does that mean that you're pro-environmental, you care about climate change, you're pro-choice,
You're anti-capitalism. I think that's who they're talking about. The people.
But I think, unfortunately, I think a lot of people get clumped in who are beyond that. It's just Democrats who
they're all capitalists. They're all the people in Congress are rich and getting richer, and they're all capitalists.
They stay in office forever. They stay in office forever. You go in a hundredaire and you come out a millionaire. Explain that to me.
They don't act like socialists, do they?
No, explain that to me. And then you continue to stand there and say, we're for the people. Get the heck out of here. Dorian Denard says they run on vibes. The Republicans figured it out. It's not about policy. No one cares about policy. Look at the local elections, especially the mayor's race. No excitement about it. Talking points. Terry McCrimmon says the independent voters are the ones that will decide the midterms, just like they decided the last presidential election. You get ready to say something, Jim?
No, I was going to say they're all capitalists, but they think socialism works for us, right? Like Roger Waters.
Right.
Here's a headline that just popped up. It says Trump says he'll send troops to Portland, Oregon to handle domestic terrorists. I mean, I lived in Portland for a year and a half way back. I worked at the newspaper there. And I know they've had some issues during the Black Lives Matter thing, but they do not need troops in Portland, Oregon. It's just always giving the finger to.
Well, Allan, why do you say that? Do the Portlanders say that they don't need the?
I have friends. I have friends in Portland. I don't know of any pressing matter that suddenly it's. I think back. There were some. Little mini riot or whatever, but the police are capable of handling that. I mean, the Portland police, the Oregon State Police, ATF is there. They can all handle that. They don't need troops. It's just I'm just against troops unless, I mean, I think somebody criticized, and I can't remember if it was one of the candidates who criticized sending troops to Detroit in '67. And I thought if there was a time to send troops, somewhere to bring calm, I thought that was one of those instances where you could justify sending the National Guard to Detroit. But I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I thought at the time.
One of our viewers said, Mr. Evans says he lives in Detroit. We need National Guard. So you have one person who says that we need National Guards in Detroit. I say that people who are hurt, and I said this a few weeks ago, have lost their kids, lost their mother, brother, sister, they probably feel that way because they want some kind of relief. The crime rate is through the roof. But I, like you and Jim, feel like, no, let the local police handle it. But more importantly,
or the federal.
People have to respect where they live, how they live, who they live with. It starts really here.
But I think when we talk about what are some of the other solutions, there are task forces with FBI, ATF, DEA working in conjunction with Detroit police. There's people in the communities who are committing there are career stick-up guys and there are career carjackers. It's like people have their thing, and those people are committing. It's a small group that are committing a lot of those things. If you get the right, task forces together, you go after those guys, you're going to see crime going down. You're not going to, you can see crime going down. There's no question. You put a bunch of National Guard people out there, nobody's going to, where you got guardsmen standing right there, nobody's going to commit a crime right there, but they can't stay there forever. You want to get the career criminals out who are committing. There's guys, and we know some of the people who are coming back from out of prison are going back right to what they've been doing. We need to have tracking those people better.
Can we take a couple quick comments?
Yes, go ahead. I'm reading them, but you go ahead.
Terry McCrimmon has the quote, the point is independent voters are the ones that will decide the midterms, just like they decided the last 3 presidential elections, right? The people on the ledge decided to vote for Trump in 2016. Mm-hmm. They were so sick of Trump that they voted for Biden, and they went back to Trump, which is kind of fascinating, if nothing else. Did the governor request a National Guard? Funny thing, go ahead, Allan. I want to hit on Dorian.
I was going to liken this to when somebody says, well, they voted for Trump, then Biden, and then they went back to Trump. I feel like it's if you've been in a relationship and you break up with somebody and then, 2 years, and it was horrible relationship and there was drama and trouble. And then you're so glad it's over. And then 2 years later, you run into that person. You're like, man, that wasn't so bad. Maybe we should get together again, try it again. And then you do it again. And you're like, oh my God, now I remember why we broke up.
That's exactly probably right. Dorian talks about the police supporting Trump. Right. And disrespecting it by sending troops. It's all for show. The troops are not law enforcement. And Deadline Detroit, Allan talked about that. Mm-hmm. It's a very interesting story that Allan wrote in Deadline Detroit on the National Guard and what their role really is. But nothing was more offensive. It should not have been more offensive to any police officer than the violent actions on January 6th and the people that Trump pardoned for those violent actions. I understand if you want to pardon a guy that walked into the front of the Capitol, turned around, didn't cause any damage. And if you want to pardon that guy, I'm not saying he didn't break the law. He did. Pardoning him is one thing. Pardoning somebody that committed a violent act against a police officer or somebody else, that's where Trump should have lost the support of all police officers.
Yeah. And let me say this. I'm thinking to Dorian's comment about disrespecting the police, basically saying that they can't do their jobs. I think he believes the opposite. I'm actually helping. He's not saying that they can't do their jobs. I think he believes that he's actually helping. But that's my view on it. Let's pivot a little bit because we've talked about Hamtramck in the past. We've talked about Highland Park. Have you guys been paying attention to the race in Southfield? Now, I lived in Southfield for 32 years. Have you guys been paying attention to that race?
What's going on there?
Okay, so you have Ken Siver, who's I know him from when I used to sit on the PTA and board and all that stuff. He was a former teacher, then he sat on the school board, and then he became the mayor of the city of Southfield with the support of, at that time, and I don't know if she's supporting him now, but Brenda Lawrence was a big supporter of Ken Siver. Well, you have Sylvia Jordan, who sat on city council for years, and she ran before Ken beat her, and now she's running again. So it's a very, very divisive race that's going on over there in Southfield. One of the issues I think there was some squabbling going back on social media. She went to somewhere to speak, and he had her escorted out, which was pretty funky. And now they're talking about building a gun shop next door to a daycare center. So the people are up in arms like, well, what is this going on with this whole zoning issue? How can you zone, do this kind of thing? We have zoning laws. How is this happening? The reason I bring that up is because, you know what, in Detroit, people are also complaining about zoning and how zoning needs to be addressed. So we have one of our viewers, Sheila, asking about the race in Southfield. She asked about, is the mayor more like basically a figurehead? The answer to that, yes, they do the ribbon cutting. They're another voice on city council, basically. But clearly there's these two people want that seat. So I'm going to encourage you guys to pay attention to what's going on in Southfield, because this is very interesting. That race is very, very interesting.
Interesting. Well,
yeah.
Southfield's a big city, and a lot of Detroiters have moved to Southfield.
I was one of them.
Yeah.
But you also see at one point in time, and this is the truth, you had a lot of Detroiters, Black Detroiters, moving to Southfield, right? And a lot of the Southfielders, Jewish Southfielders, moving to West Bloomfield, etc. Well, in the last, I'm going to say 10 years, especially the last 5 years, those same people that moved out, they have moved back into Southfield. Which tells me a lot of those homes, they never sold them. They probably just rented them out and decided, hey, I'm tired of paying all this money out here in Oakland Township or West Bloomfield. I'm moving back into my property here in Southfield. So when you look at the city council meetings, and when you look at, because they televise it, it's really interesting. You see the people who live in Southfield, what it looks like. Because at one point in time, it was extremely white, then it became extremely Black, and now you're seeing a shift. And I don't know if they use gentrification in describing Southfield, but it's very interesting. Go ahead, Allan.
Well, I think there may be a couple things going on. One, the home values, your bang for your buck is pretty good. There's still a lot of beautiful homes in Southfield. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is that the Jewish community, the Jewish Federation, wanted to stabilize Oak Park and Southfield and started giving interest-free loans to Jewish people who are buying their first home. So you have a generation. There is an Orthodox Jewish community in Southfield, and a lot of younger people have moved into Southfield and gotten these loans, and there is a community there. And if you're Orthodox Jewish, and there's a lot of synagogues in parts of Southfield where you can, within walking distance. And if you're Orthodox, you're not supposed to drive on the Sabbath. Right. And so I think that may be part of a component. What's going on there?
Yeah.
So.
Terry, Miss Sheila, thank you for your comments. We appreciate it. Keep coming back. We hope to be at full strength real soon. And we appreciate you, and we appreciate whoever sees this after our live broadcast. Go ahead.
Breaking, we're getting ready to leave, but Deborah Harris says breaking, President Trump announces it's looking like we have a deal on Gaza that will secure the return of the hostages and end the war. Wow.
Well, I'll believe it when I see it.
Me too. All right. Well, we will return on Wednesday, but we have Detroit Black and White presents Reality Strikes with Eric Brown on Monday evenings. I think his show comes on 8:30 to 9:30, or it might be 8 to 9. I forgot what time, and I've been on the show a couple of times. But join us on Wednesday and Friday from 8:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. and Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. You know what we want y'all to do. Tell your piece about the greatest show where on these YouTube streets. Thank you, Lady T. Love you guys both. Have a good weekend.